Hello and welcome to the Superhero Hub. I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and today we're going to be reviewing
Arrow.
Arrow Season 5 Episode 13 entitled Spectre of the Gun. What was so funny about that?
It's a bit pretentious, isn't it?
Well,
Spectre of the gun. I suppose the entire episode was a bit pretentious.
the interesting thing is, if you kind of look back on past episodes, the past 3-4 episodes, the kind of Renee's been the kind of central kind of secondary character, you know what I mean? They've kind of pushed him to the forefront a little bit. So, and
Yeah, he's taking Diggle's spot basically, isn't he?
yeah, but Diggle's whack anyway. So, Diggle's like a kind of teacher of the team now. He's going around to each person training them, but as I was, yeah, they're kind of pushing the issue a bit with him, and then obviously this episode it was all about him. So I see that what they were going for with that one. Though I think maybe they could just have just done an episode like this one without having the lead up to it. But you know what I mean. In other news, Thea's back,
Yeah.
which is good. I mean, they found some money there to bring her back in for an episode. One interesting thing is, well, I mean, we'll talk about the episode, and then I'll bring up the interesting thing about her, and it is shocking. You know what I mean? So stay tuned. So basically, this episode, instead of having flashbacks to Russia. And that, you know, that boring stuff, we kind of had flashbacks of Renee's
Marriage, his backstory, his family life,
yeah,
basically why he's doing what he's doing. And I think we needed it. I think it's about time. They've kind of been building up to it, and it's about what I expected, to be honest. Not that that's a bad thing. I think it was pretty good. I think it's the best of flashbacks they've been in a while.
Yeah, so it's kind of interesting because like you kind of the focal point with him and his wife is they've kind of moved out of the glades. It's a rough area and stuff like that, and he's like going off at her because she's like a druggie. And it's interesting because he was saying I never do drugs or nothing like that, and kind of his the way kind of first perceptions and stuff like that, he's the kind of guy who'd strike me as someone who does drugs and stuff like that. So it's interesting. He's kind of interestingly like self-righteous, like, oh, I don't touch drugs, but I'll like murder people. You know what I mean? I think that's a real interesting one as well. Like Oliver Queen with his dynamic is like, I'll murder some people, but I won't break the fingers of someone else. So that kind of took me by surprise, and that it kind of took me aback. I kind of feel bad for him in a way because obviously his wife's giving him gyp. She's a bit of an issue. They go to a ball game. They come back, and then her dealers took her hostage with a gun. And then there's a bit of a like fight and stuff like that. And the wife ends up getting killed. And
Yep, and the kid's been taken into care, right? So I will say, I'm glad they didn't kill the kid. To be honest, I think A, that's kind of the obvious thing to do, and B, I think it's a little too far. We've already seen Arrow kill a kid before, you know, like with the Japanese or something. You remember from season whatever the hell that was.
My favourite character in the whole show.
Oh, don't get me started on that crap.
It was great.
I think we needed the explanation of Renee, and I think it explained his stance on guns.
You would have
as well.
You would have expected that anyway. So yeah, the kind of opening of the episode, the kind of main storyline is Oliver Queen's doing his mayor stuff haphazardly, and then a gunman comes in and starts popping people, and then like he's kind of pulled it. The guy's dipped off. They're kind of pulling it together. Oliver's like giving orders and stuff like that. He's like, "Where's my sister?" So he's wandering around, and then like Thea waddles in. And at first, I thought she was like shot and that, but it turns out she's wearing like the highest heels and that, and she can barely run in them. So she was kind of limping about on them. And I was thinking, "Oh, has Thea been shot?" But it turns out her heels are too high. So that was the shocking thing I mentioned earlier. Because
bet that was worth the wait, viewers, wasn't it?
Yeah, but literally, I oh my god, has Thea been shot? But I mean, trust, watch that moment back. She's kind of like that, and I'm like, oh, she been shot, and then it's like, oh, heals. So I thought that was like a bit moronic, because it's interesting, because I was thinking about it, like, she's like been trained by Malcolm Merlin. She's pretty much like an apprentice of the League of Assassins, and it's like, you'd think she'd wear more comfortable shoes. Like, do you think, like, put yourself in her, like, no pun intended, but put yourself in her shoes for a minute. Like, you wake up in the morning, do you think, I'm gonna wear, like, what if I run into trouble? Am I gonna wear these, like, high heels and that, so I can just pop someone in the head one time?
No, well, she's not Speedy anymore, is she? Or the Red Arrow, or whatever the hell she was calling herself. So there's no reason for her to. She's got a job. She's got to look professional. Like, I don't know why shields are a part of that, but I guess they are.
Especially if you can barely run in them, because you got to think, if something's going to pop off, she's going to be doing a lot of running about. So anyway, that was my kind of off-center thought and stuff like that, because it's interesting how you write characters in that, because you got to think in that she's basically like an assassin. Is like what?
Yeah, but she's not anymore.
Yeah, I know, but what does she kind of do in her downtime? Like, could
She
you?
doesn't have downtime. It seems to me she's more the mayor than Oliver Queen is.
I think
So,
that's
I
interesting.
mean, admittedly, she's been off screen for a long time, but when she was on screen, think back to it, basically, she's doing more of the job than he is. He's not being a Green Arrow whenever he can.
Yeah, but I think she's smarter than him.
Yeah, she probably is.
I think Oliver's a bit like, no offense, but I think he's like dumb. I like,
Well,
some of the things.
I don't know if he's dumb in all senses, but he's a better vigilante than he is a mayor, isn't he?
I think,
There's a reason he's not running Queen Consolidated.
yeah, that's what I mean. I think he is kind of, you'd kind of pick Thea. I think Thea's smarter just because her dad's like Malcolm Merlin and her mum's Moira, as
And also,
opposed to.
Oliver was a playboy.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So he strikes me as kind of dumb in that. Sometimes he can be clever, but really, like,
Right, but again, its cleverness relates to how you hunt down and track some psycho, and not what you're going to do in a strategy meeting about, global warming or whatever the hell mayors do.
yeah, because it's interesting, because they kind of, on this episode, they focus like more. It was very, very political heavy. You know what I mean?
It was, and we can't really avoid talking about that. Arrow went super, super political and topical.
I felt like I was at a debate between Hillary and Donald about gun control.
Well, because gun control is something we can't really relate to. We don't really have guns over here, so. But I get it; it's a big thing in America, and these topical episodes were something that American shows used to do big. When we were kids in the 90s and into the early 2000s, all these shows would do it, but it doesn't happen much anymore. And it's kind of odd that it'll happen in Arrow, but I suppose if you're gonna tackle one topical thing, gun control should be it on a show where, like you were saying earlier, Oliver is basically a dude who goes around. Yeah, he uses bows and arrows, but he goes around shooting people when he feels like it. So, gun control is something they should tackle. The only thing is, when you do that kind of thing, is you can get into a position where it gets a bit preachy, and you begin to talk down to people, and even cheesy, which is where it got to a point for me, because they are running theme throughout the episode is that there's a debate between Mr. Terrific and Renee, right?
Yeah.
About guns, and then the third element is Felicity, who's completely uncomfortable the entire debate. He keeps on shutting it down to a point where you get towards the end of the episode. Now, I actually agree with the point they were making in the scene, but the scene itself was just so bad to me. It's like the worst these things get, when they get preachy, when it takes you out of the episode for me. It was the one where Mr. Terrific was talking with Felicity about the debate he's been having with Renee, and Felicity said she doesn't like it, and then he goes to walk away. But then he turns around and comes back, and they have this conversation about, we used to be able to talk about these things in America, but now we can't. At some point along the line, it just became criticism or something like that. Rude, right. I was like, oh, I'm sitting there thinking, I kind of agree with this, but it's so bad.
Yeah. It's like the same thing. It's like if you talk about immigration, you're racist or bigoted or xenophobic.
Well, yeah, you're not entitled to have a view, but, and again, I agree with that general point that you should be able to have the debate, but the scene itself just plays so hokey.
Yeah. I mean that's what Arrow do though, and that they take something and they just like they can't pull it off. Like, it's interesting because he's mayor, and I guess you got to tackle him doing mayoral stuff, but like it's Arrow. Come on, knock it off. Yeah. Another thing as well, since we're talking about guns, like that guy you think is vigilante, he got popped, and he's in the hospital. But like 5 minutes later, Vigilante popped up and then shot the other guy that Oliver Queen was interrogating. So
still think it's him.
You still think it's him because he didn't look like he was flinching at all when he drew the gun, and the fact he got hit in that shoulder means like to lift that arm's going to be a bit of a struggle. You see how he was putting like trying to put his shirt on. He could barely put his shirt on. So you're telling me he's going to pick up like a pretty heavy gun, like about a 5-6 pound gun, fire off a shot with the recoil that's going to have on his shoulder as well, and is not going to flinch.
Yep, sticking to it. I think it's him.
I think that's one of them things. Like that could be like a little red
herring.
Yeah, red herring there. So that was something I thought I'd bring up. Another thing as well, like Felicity in general, she kind of seems to me a little more distant now. She's kind of, I think she's kind of got the whole file. She got the file from the girl, and now she's kind of doing her like saving the internet and stuff like that. And I think she's kind of really becoming, the past couple of episodes, she's become a little more distant with the team now. Seems like she's focusing on that, and it's like, yeah, she's doing her job, but she's not as involved as she kind of normally is.
Yeah, but I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Give her own story, move her away from Oliver, and have her do her own little thing. As long as you're not bogging down every episode with it, then I think that's okay.
No, I think I prefer it, because now my issue is you got Oliver, but because I mean even Thea was saying about his new girl and that she's baggage, and like she was saying she's whack. So I was thinking about it, and I was like, right, so she's up to something, this girlfriend's up to something, so that's going to go south ultimately. So like, is Oliver Queen going to end up getting with Black Canary?
I hope not.
And another thing as well, like John Diggle was coming on. Like, where's his wife and kid? Because he was like proper bumming.
You think so? Yeah, it's interesting. I'm like, is he coming on to her or not? I think he's just doing like a mentor big brother thing, like he's doing for everyone. It's just maybe when you get a woman and a man in the scene and they're not brother and sister, and it's just them alone in the van. It kind of takes on that vibe. But I don't think they have chemistry. I bought it, but I don't think he was, no.
A standout moment for me as well, like this is where I actually thought it is kind of decent. He redeemed himself a little bit. Do you know he was interrogating the kind of street guy, and then he was like trying to get the answers, and he just like backs up and gives him one dirty smack to the stomach and knocks him out. I thought that was pretty good. It's like, I didn't think you could get knocked out by getting punched in the stomach, but I thought that was solid.
I like Diggle when he's beating people up. I like Diggle when he's doing his thing, but when
I like Diggle when he's not talking, basically.
He can talk whenever the Flash is around because he's damn funny, but when he, I just don't want him doing that thing where he shoots his brother and cries about it, for a week. I'm glad when he shot his brother.
It's better when he's just like swinging people around, but it's like baggage whenever he kind of gets too into his character.
I think that mentor role they got him in now works well.
Yeah, but how much screen time is he actually going to get? Like, I mean,
he needs.
Where it is now, you could effectively cut him out and it wouldn't really change anything. You got Renee going around popping people, so you don't need John Diggle with his one gun and helmet doing anything.
Yeah, I agree, but I think, well, we're kind of dancing around with it. Basically, one of the producers, I think Mark Guggenheim, came out and said that the reason Thea hasn't been on the show as much as he is because they can't afford the contract, basically.
As if he actually come out with that. Why wouldn't he just been like, the kind of route we're going? She's kind of not pivotal to the plot.
Oh,
She's kind of.
that's crappy talk. It's the same, but no, that's awful.
She's kind of trying to be more independent and find herself, so she's moving away from
That's
the Arrow team.
That's the same old line they trot out on all these shows. Just be honest. I appreciate your honesty. He hasn't got the money to have her in every episode. Fine, it makes sense. So she's been under contract for, I think he said, about 14 of the episodes. So maybe it can be the same thing with Diggle. They can just bring these people in when they need them, and then you don't have to keep paying them as a salary. It's the same. They've got Barrowman on a special kind of contract. They've got your man from Prison Break, who plays Captain Cold, on the same contract.
Yeah, but I think that's a kind of handheld thing as well, because it is obviously doing Prison Break at the minute. So I mean, if that comes back, if this like new revival comes back solid, I mean, this is kind of a discussion for Legends of Tomorrow, but since we're on the issue of the CW's broke, I mean, if Fox like order another season of Prison Break after this special thing, which I don't really see why they should. I don't even see why they brought it back in the first place, because I mean, they should have just left it how it was. If they do that, then what happens with Wentworth Miller? Does he like stop being Captain Cold or what?
Yeah, he probably will. You know, it is what it is. You know, actors get jobs and they move on. It's not like they have to have Captain Cold there. They've moved on in the story, so they can do that. But my point is, you can just bring these people in when you need them. If you only need Diggle for a certain amount of episodes, then do that. Because the way Diggle's character's gone anyway, he has a family now.
Which I haven't seen.
Yeah, but you don't need to see him.
Have they even been in this season? He never mentions them.
Yeah.
I thought he would have mentioned them.
We've seen Lila. And we've heard that, we've seen the kid as well. I remember the kid changed because of Flashpoint. It was a girl and that was a boy. So it's not that they haven't been on the show. They have been. And we don't need to see them every week. Who wants to see them every week? It's Arrow. So you can have Diggle in when you need Diggle, and Diggle can go away when you don't need him. Job done.
Okay. Is there any other plot points you feel like? I mean, at the end of the episode, you have Mr. Terrific saying he's got a lawyer friend and they're going to get, like, because what I was thinking, they took his kid away because it was an unsafe environment. Like, who's going to look after his kid? Is working at the mayor's office, and then at night is shooting people, doing his vigilante stuff. So yeah, he gets the kid back. Who's going to look after the kid?
Right. He's the only one with his head on his shoulders. He talked to in that same conversation with Mr. Terrific. He said she's in a good home. He thinks she's in a good home, and she's better off away from him.
Yeah,
I agree.
Is that where's he going to find the time?
Right, Oliver sent his kid away because he can't be around kids. Not even Kim Renee. Right? His kid probably is better off where she is. And if he is a hero and he can save people, then maybe one day his kid will understand what he's done and understand that she's better off where she is. Yeah. And now Mr. Terrific's like, no, you should be around your kid. No, stupid. The kid's better off where she is.
Yeah, only if, like, you say one day she'll understand. It's like, yeah, if he's dead. And like Laurel Lance and that, they understand that she's the Black Canary and the stuff she did. But Laurel Lance never really killed anyone. You got to think, if it comes out as Wild Dog, they're going to pin about 100 murders on him. Because at the end of the day, it is murder, really. You can't go around and do that, whether it's a bad guy or not.
Yeah, but, who knows what this kid's opinion will be.
It's interesting with the police as well, like, they find these people dead. Do they just close the case? They don't like investigate or try and find out who's killed it. They're like, oh, it's wild dog or whatever. But
the police are a joke, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what it's got to be in that, because it's like, oh, we're not going to investigate this further. It's just closed case. You'd think there'd be like a citywide manhunt for these people. So
if the police were worth their while, there wouldn't be a need for a Green Arrow. It's the same in Batman, isn't it? But what does Jim Gordon really do? It's like we call Batman when there's trouble.
If Batman was murdering, then Jim Gordon wouldn't call him. So it's probably lucky that he don't kill anyone. So any other points?
Well, I will say... So I'm not mad that they did a topical episode. And like I said, if you're going to do one, that's the one to do with Arrow. But at the same time, they keep hedging their bets. What are you doing with Oliver Queen?
What's happening with Prometheus?
Well, we'll get to that in a second. Well, but with Oliver Queen, I want him to kill people. But what did the show want
So
him to do?
angry.
Do you want him to kill people? Do you not want him to kill people? And if you do, why is why is he choosing who lives and who doesn't? I get this. This guy lost his family. I get it, but he went on a rampage. He went on a rampage and murdered people. Just put the costume on and put an arrow in this guy. Take him off the street.
I think he should kill people.
Yeah, me too.
Because that's the kind of only way. It's like the Batman dilemma. If you look at Batman vs Superman, where he was talking to Alfred, and it's like criminals are like weeds. You pop one, you kind of put one away, another two pop up. So maybe if there's a consequence of like, if you do this, you're going to get killed. Maybe it's going to disparage people from doing it, and then it's only going to be like super villains as opposed to like small time people doing crimes.
Maybe, but. You know what I mean? I think the show needs to make a decision, definitively state once and for all, have Oliver say what is he going to do. If he's not going to kill people anymore, fine. If he is, fine. But don't have them keep on picking and choosing who he kills and who he doesn't.
I think it really, next season, it needs like a soft reboot, really. They need to sort the whole team out, who's in, who's not. Like, have a definitive team, have a kind of definitive goal. Figure that out and go from there. Because I mean, this episode was I guess it wasn't a bad episode, and I guess it wasn't a great episode.
I don't think it was either.
It was just an episode, just another one.
I think Arrow's got kind of semi-topical before. They kind of did a drug thing with Thea, although that was a disaster. This is the most topical it's ever got. It was pretty good if you're going to do it, I guess.
It's because of the political climate they're doing it. Because in all the other shows they'll have digs and stuff like that. So I mean,
right, but again, they're
jumping on the political bandwagon.
Of course, but in its defense, everyone is. You can't roll your eyes at Arrow and then watch anything else that's going to do the same thing. And again,
but nothing else really has.
Well, that's kind of what I was saying earlier, though. But this is what American TV used to do. They always used to do this topical stuff, and it's gone away from that. I don't really know why. On the Prometheus thing, like you were saying earlier, I was annoyed last week that we had another episode about Prometheus, and we're getting another one here.
Yeah, they mentioned him once. They mentioned about his mother, and that's even if this guy does turn out to be who he's supposed to be. Which is
they need to get back to, and I think they will. I think I read somewhere next week Prometheus will come back big time. I will say I think this episode was better than last week, so the Prometheus thing I guess didn't bother me as much. I was certainly more annoyed in a crappier episode, but I think we've hit all the plot points, have we not?
I'll agree with that one.
Let's
talk numbers.
I'm gonna give it a 7.5.
7.5?
Yeah.
Why?
I thought it was pretty good. I thought it got bogged down in some of this preachy stuff, but
6.5.
Well, you can give it a score.
It wasn't good and it wasn't bad, so I mean technically it should be like a 5. But okay.
No, I thought it was okay. If you're going to do a topical episode, then this is the one you should do with Arrow. And for the most part, it's pretty good. I like the Renee stuff. I like the flashbacks of him.
If they had a 2-minute conversation of Renee, like last episode, if Renee said, "Oh yeah, there was a thing like I took my kid out to a game. We come back, my girl got like had a gun to her head. There was a scuffle. She ended up getting killed. That's why I kind of am the way I am." And that was on the night that was like a couple nights before, obviously, the riots and Damien Dart. That's why I became Wild Dog and started doing this vigilante thing. Then I mean, a 2-minute explanation of that last episode. They could have cut this episode never existed. Nothing would have changed.
It's far more interesting to see it. You just bored me saying that. No. I don't want to hear them say it. Show it, and you showed it.
Yeah, but it's Arrow. Arrow loves to bore people.
What flashback would you prefer? Would you prefer the flashbacks from last week?
They could have just cut the episode out, and it wouldn't have changed anything.
Why? They could have cut last week and used this episode in its place. This episode was fine. Last week was boring.
It doesn't warrant a 7.5. I'm sorry, 6.5 at a push, and I'm being kind, giving it
you're
the
a
5
school
point.
freak.
Nah, but come on, you can't say
It's fine.
you can't say it was an
right.
average
I can say
episode.
it. I just did say that.
Average is a 5, a 6 at a push, but to give it 7.5,
I'll give it whatever number I want.
fine.
8.
I'm Sam,
I'm Matt.
and this has been the Superhero Hub.